It's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Choi. Let's start with the headlines. Highlighting how the Korean economy is going strong despite the odds that stand in the way, President Park Geun-hye emphasized the need to focus on reform and restructuring to keep up this pace at her last cabinet meeting for 2015. Seoul and Beijing hold their first vice ministerial level talks on their overlapping exclusive economic zones in the West Sea. Both sides say it's a vital issue to resolve to ensure healthy bilateral relations. Korea is sitting under a cloud of fine dust that's floated down from China and is likely to be with us until Wednesday. This after Beijing issued its second red alert for air pollution over the weekend. Reform and restructuring were the two keywords emphasized by President Park Geun-hye at a cabinet meeting today, the last one of the year. Emphasizing the need for an economic revival, she urged lawmakers to pass related bills as soon as possible, a call she has repeated in recent weeks. Our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun starts us off.
At the last cabinet meeting of the year, President Park Geun-hye noted how well the Korean economy has fared, despite the unfavorable conditions at home and abroad. Citing Moody's recent decision to raise Korea's credit rating to AA2, the country's highest ever. She went on to say that in order to keep the momentum going, the current efforts to revive the economy must continue.
무디스는 한국이 지금 추진하고 있는 구조 개혁과 경기 활성화가 성공할 것이라고 믿고 이러한 신뢰를 바탕으로 신용 등급을 상향한다고 명시적으로 밝혔습니다. 이것은 구조 개혁이 후퇴하면 신용 등급을 다시 하향할 수 있다는 경고 메시지이기도 합니다.
To that end, she said that a package of bills on labor market reform and the service sector that are currently pending at the National Assembly must be passed as soon as possible. With lawmakers' attention focused on a redistricting bill ahead of a general election in April, the bills are in danger of being put off until next year.
중소기업인들까지 하루빨리 경제 활성화와 노동개혁 법안을 국회에서 통과시켜 줄 것을 간절히 호소하는 것을 들으면서 대통령으로서 참으로 안타까웠고 그분들이 얼마나 힘이 들까 하는 생각에 마음이 아팠습니다. 대한민국의 미래는 결코 저 개인 대통령의 것도 아니고 정치권의 이득과 실리보다 더 중요한 것이 국민 경제 살리기와 국민의 안전입니다.
In addition to the economic reforms she laid out at the meeting, President Park also pointed to a bill on restructuring universities. She said colleges must merge and adjust their enrollment quotas to reflect an ongoing decline in the youth population, while also addressing the mismatch between the number of graduates in certain fields and the demand from employers. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Korea's two main rival parties have reacted to the announcement by former main opposition party co-chair Ahn Cheol-soo that he's creating a new party ahead of the April general elections. As you might imagine, their reactions were mixed, and we get the details on what they said from our Kim Young-gil.
The ruling Saenuri Party remains wary of former opposition party co-chair Ahn Cheol-soo's decision to create a new reform-minded party. But on Tuesday, floor leader Gwangju-Daegu urged him to focus on two things he characterized as the essence of political reform.
Lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo has vowed to launch a new party with an emphasis on reform. But true reform lies in improving people's lives and creating new jobs. We urge Ahn to stop wasting time by trying to win political gains and instead help us pass urgent livelihood bills.
Ahn, who co-chaired the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy last year, quit the party earlier this month after current party chair Moon Jae-in rejected his proposal for a leadership change. Moon said Tuesday the MPD would instead work to transform itself ahead of the upcoming general election in April.
Our party should take this opportunity to look back on what we've done wrong. We must go through a painful transformation. We must continue reforming our party and achieve unity among our members. We must follow our principles in order to win in the upcoming elections.
Moon said the public no longer wants an opposition party in turmoil, but a party that is strong enough to challenge the current administration. In the wake of Ahn's announcement, the main opposition party has some tough obstacles to overcome ahead of next year's general election, which could see the Liberal vote split between the NPAD and Ahn's new party, potentially delivering a victory to their ruling party rival. Chimyeong-gil, Arirang News.
And for the first time in 7 years, Korea and China held official talks on their overlapping exclusive economic zones at sea. Vice Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and his Chinese counterpart Liu Zhenmin led today's meeting in Seoul, which marks the highest level of negotiations held to date. Vice Minister Cho told reporters after the meeting that the two exchanged stances and discussed how and when future talks would proceed. A major sticking point for the two countries for years has been their respective claims to Yeodo Island, a submerged reef in the West Sea. The Foreign Ministry in Seoul said this latest sign of progress is a result of an agreement made between President Park Geun-hye and President Xi Jinping last year. Both sides view the issue as a key hurdle to overcome to maintain healthy bilateral relations. Toxic dust from Beijing spread over to Korea again. This comes after Beijing issued its second red alert for smog over the weekend. Lee Soo-geun has the details.
A symbolic building in Beijing, now covered in smog. It's barely recognizable after the Chinese capital issued its second red alert for air pollution on Saturday to Tuesday. By Monday, the clouds of fine dust had spread across a surface of 660,000 square kilometers. That's 3 times the size of the Korean peninsula. Now, the dust clouds are headed to Korea. The nation's weather agency has issued an orange alert, the second highest level, starting Tuesday, for Seoul, the surrounding areas, and the provinces of Gangwon-do, Chungcheong-do, and Jeollabuk-do. In numbers, that means the concentration of fine dust will exceed 81 micrograms per cubic meter, more than 3 times the WHO standard of 25. The agency expects similar levels for the capital on Wednesday as well, saying the smog won't disperse quickly without the rain that's expected in the morning down south. Experts recommend that people with respiratory issues stay indoors if possible or wear masks on their way out. Lee Soo-geun, Arirang News.
At a time when advanced countries have been working to cut back on their use of fossil fuels, Korea has become more dependent on coal, specifically over the last 2 decades. So much so that a new report shows it's emerged as one of the biggest coal consumers in the world. Kim Min-ji tells us more.
Koreans are big consumers of coal. According to the International Energy Agency, the country's per-person coal consumption is the 5th largest in the world, consuming almost 2.3 ton coal equivalent, or TCE, which is a unit representing how much energy is generated by burning 1 metric ton. Topping the list is Kazakhstan, followed by Australia and Taiwan. Korea even outpaces China and the US, themselves big consumers of coal as a country. While major OECD countries have seen their coal consumption go down, Korea's has been going in the opposite direction for the last 25 years. In 1990, the OECD average stood at 1.43, dropping to 1.24 in 2010. Korea's corresponding figure came to 0.85 in 1990, but since then it has been growing more than 4% annually. Many advanced countries have been opting for coal-free policies, as coal accounts for almost half of greenhouse gas emitted while burning fossil fuels. But Korea's coal consumption is only set to increase further. The country currently generates over 27,000 megawatts of energy from its coal power plants. By 2023, the government plans to increase that figure by about 18,000, which is roughly 2/3 more than what is being produced now. Korea recently agreed at the Paris Climate Conference to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but critics say the country's pledges on emissions ring hollow as Korea's energy policies are heading in the wrong direction. Local environmentalists are calling for fundamental discussions on how Korea can meet such goals. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Credit card spending by Koreans marked strong growth in November, showing signs of recovery in domestic consumption. According to data compiled by the Credit Finance Association of Korea, Koreans went plastic with $45.9 billion worth of purchases last month. That's up 9.8% from the previous year. The figure includes credit, debit, and prepaid card purchases. The rise in transactions is attributed to a pickup in consumer sentiment. The nation's consumer sentiment index reached 106 points in November, the highest this year. By industry, credit card spending at travel agencies and duty-free stores rose by over 20% on year. The discount sales event K-Sales Day also contributed to a 10% on-year rise in transactions at department stores and large supermarkets. Things are getting a little better for North Korean defectors who settled in Seoul, at least where employment is concerned. That's according to a new report that shows more defectors than ever before are finding jobs. Connie Kim has this report.
The unemployment rate for North Korean defectors living in South Korea has fallen to an all-time low. Data released by Seoul's Unification Ministry shows the figure was down to 4.8% as of November, a drop from a two-digit figure since 2011. The figure is slightly higher than that for South Korea, which had an unemployment rate of 3.5% last year. With that, more defectors are finding jobs. The employment rate for defectors rose into the 54% range this year, from less than 50% 4 years ago. A Unification Ministry official pointed to a better job market as a reason for the progress. However, he also said the quality of the jobs defectors hold could use some improvement. He added that new bank accounts created by the government last month and tailored for defectors aim to help some start businesses and become economically independent. Meanwhile, a new survey asking whether reunification of the two Koreas is necessary shows 6 out of 10 students favors the idea. The survey, conducted by the Ministries of Unification and Education, polled nearly 125,000 elementary, middle, and high school students in the country. However, what's concerning is that students in the upper class tended to be against the idea of a reunified Korea, with social chaos one of the main reasons cited. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
South Korea is arguably the most wired country in the world, but it seems China is catching up fast. A new report by the Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade predicts the technology gap in the telecommunications industry between the two countries will narrow to just over a year and a half from its prediction of a year and 9 months in 2012. According to the institute, local telecom companies should do more to raise their profile in China to maintain a competitive edge. It also suggests Korean companies should step up their efforts to develop 5th-generation LTE technology, which is 1,000 times faster than the current 4G. Outside of Korea, a suicide bombing in Afghanistan has killed 6 American troops and injured 3 others. According to a spokesman for the governor of Parwan province, a suicide bomber on a motorcycle packed with explosive rammed into a joint NATO-Afghan patrol on Monday near Bagram Air Base in the northern part of the province. It was the deadliest attack on international forces since August. The White House said in a statement that the Taliban was responsible. The names of the people who were killed have not yet been released, and the attack remains under investigation. A total 25 NATO service members have died in Afghanistan so far this year. A 7-year-long renovation of a major expressway connecting Korea's southern regions is finally complete. With a brand new name and expanded lanes, the Gwangju-Daegu Expressway is a welcome addition to drivers who are anticipating smoother and shorter drive times. Shin Se-min has the details.
An expressway connecting the east and the west of southern Korea has undergone a revamp. The 2-lane freeway, used to be known as the 88 Olympic Expressway, connects the city of Gwangju in Jeollanam-do Province and Daegu of Gyeongsang-namdo Province. Now it's called the Gwangju-Daegu Expressway, and with renovations now complete, drivers who used to stretch of road can shorten their travel time by half an hour. The new expressway is not only faster, but also safer with a 4-lane expansion.
물류비 절감액만 매년 760억 원에 달할 거로 기대가 됩니다. 또한 부근의 순천, 완주, 통영, 대전 고속도로 등과 연계되는 4통 8달의 교통망을 구축함으로써 지역 경제에 큰 활력을 불어넣게 될 것입니다.
This latest expressway update leaves Korea without any two-lane highways. The expressway began running since 1984. These long-stretching fast lanes were constructed to connect and harmonize the Yeongnam area in Korea's southeast and the Honam area in the southwest region, which were divided by regional and political rifts. But over the past 31 years, some 770 lives have been taken in car accidents on the winding expressway. The new expressway has gone smarter too, as it aims to implement a fast tolling system by the year 2020, making it much more simple for the drivers as they won't have to pick up a toll ticket at the toll gate. A national project worth $1.8 billion of revamping the expressway first went under construction in 2008 after 3 years of executing design. 신세민, Arirang News.
A moderate 3.9 magnitude earthquake shook Korea in the early hours of the morning. The quake hit just north of Iksan, a city about 250 kilometers south of Seoul, at around 4:30 a.m. It's the strongest quake to hit the country this year. Local residents claim they have heard a loud bang and felt vibrations for 7 to 10 seconds. Tremors were felt all over the peninsula, even as far away as Seoul and Busan. There have been no reports of any injuries or damage to buildings. Korea experiences around 40 minor earthquakes a year. The strongest one on record was a 5.2 magnitude quake in the year 2004. That's the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. More coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time.